The Saint-Nazaire Landing Zone is located at the foot of the Château-Nardin summit in the center of this image. This Château-Nardin summit is itself at the southern end of the Petite Roche Plateau, just before the Manival ravine. From the Plan de Crawl takeoff, you cannot see the Saint-Nazaire Landing Zone, precisely because it is hidden by Château-Nardin. Fortunately, this landing zone is easy to spot as soon as you pass the edge of the Plateau des Petites Roches. The road going from Saint-Nazaire-les-Eymes up to the plateau through the tunnel in the cliff is very visible in the forest. Just above the city, this road makes two very characteristic 45 degrees bends, separated by approximately 700 meters. The Saint-Nazaire landing zone is located inside the first 45-degree bend above the houses. The location of this landing zone near the main road going up towards the Petite Roche Plateau is a major advantage for pilots. Once the paraglider is folded, there are only a few meters to walk to that road and hitch a ride to quickly get back up to the plateau. During the Icar Cup, the landing zone will be marked with a clear line on the ground, indicating its center and the landing axis. The main difficulty with this landing zone is that the ground is on an inclined plane. Seen from above, the whole area looks flat, but this is deceptive. The slope is about the same as the 9:1 glide ratio of our wings. This is why it is very important to lose altitude downstream of the landing zone and end with an L-shaped approach going uphill. Any attempt to enter the landing zone downhill is likely to end up beyond it, downstream or in the trees. To lose altitude, make your figure 8 turns along the edge of the houses without flying over them. Then start the final L along the side of the cemetery. Warning, again due to the slope, you must stop the 8th and start the L at a higher ground height than you would do on the flat ground. The Grésivaudan Valley wind generally blows from the northeast to the southwest in the afternoon, regardless of the direction of the wind in altitude. And so you generally have to do a right-hand L, following the small road on the left edge of the landing zone, then turning right as close as possible from the tree at the end of the landing zone. In the rare case of a southerly valley wind, do a left-hand L, following the edge of the trees on the right, then turning left as late as possible. In all cases, look closely at the windsock well in advance to know the direction of the wind on the ground. On very unstable days, the thermal breeze can take over the Grésivaudan Valley wind and therefore blow uphill, perpendicular to the main length of the landing zone. Do not make the mistake of trying to land facing the wind, so facing downhill. Instead, do make an L-shaped approach from downstream, as explained previously. The first leg of the L will therefore be downwind, then do a crosswind landing. Conversely, in the evening, when the cliffs have gone into shade, a downhill breeze blows across the landing zone. As always, make an L uphill with the first branch upwind, then a crosswind landing. Warning, as you will fly upwind in the first branch of the L, you must start it with an even greater ground height than usual. So here I'm flying from below the tunnels towards the Saint-Nazaire landing zone. I'm flying relatively low, but this is not an issue thanks to the descending slope. You can see on the right side of the image the cemetery that's being built there, and to its right the landing zone, which is next to the little hedge. I'm nearing the first houses, I'll turn to the left and start doing my figure 8 approach to lose altitude before landing. So it's important to avoid flying over the houses and stay on the fields just above the houses. So here, after the first turn, you can see the building site of the cemetery and the landing zone on my right, and I'm following the limit of the houses and will do a couple of turns before I can land. The theoretical diagrams I showed earlier showed aids just along the houses, but of course you can fly further if you need to, beyond the first or even the second road. Here you can see the 45-degree turn that's very characteristic from above. So I'm coming back towards the cemetery. As I gained a little bit of altitude, so I go a little bit backwards to lose more altitude before doing the final turn towards the landing zone. Now it's time to go, so I turn to follow the little road with the power line, and I follow it as close to the road as possible, do the final turn to the right near the tree, and I land towards Albertville, towards the north. Easy enough.